Hello, welcome back to Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem. Now today's true story is going to be about Skylar Neece. And unfortunately, because this is the Crime, Mystery, and Mayhem channel, I have to give a disclaimer. The details in this story are pretty graphic and gruesome, so viewer discretion is advised. Okay, Skylar Neece, she was a bubbly little girl. Her parents loved her so much. She was an only child as well. You know, when you're an only child, you basically get everything you want, especially when you have really hard-working, dedicated parents like her parents. Her parents loved her so much to the point where they made sure she had the proper education, the proper housing, the proper birthdays, everything. Just whatever it took to ensure their daughter Skylar that they loved her with all of their heart. And she did everything that they asked in return. She got good grades. She did good at school. She was respectful at home. All her friends at her school, even her teachers, they will all come to say that Skylar was a bubbly personality. She was a joy to be around and just had a smile that was just light up the room. So because so many people were drawn to her energy, you know, that positiveness about her that just made other little kids just was really interested to play with her. She was smart. She just loved to play games, just everything. And everything that she would talk about, it was educational, but you know, at the same time, childlike fun. So they were always like, oh, she's super cool. She's such a super cool kid. I really want to hang out with her. She's super smart. She's pretty. And she's fun. So one day at her and her parents' church camp, you know, Skylar, she runs into this other little girl. Little brunette girl, pretty. You know, she's fun and witty just like Skylar. So Skylar's like, I really want to be her friend. So, and yeah, Sheila, she feels the same way. So they're both playing together, and each and every time that they will see each other at this church, you know, they will always link up and be like, yeah, let's go play. Let's go get on the swing, you know, whatever. So they're kids at this time. So eventually, you know, the more Sheila comes around, yeah, Skylar parents began to take a liking to this little girl. Even though Sheila came from kind of a troubled background, the Neece family, they didn't care about that. They still welcomed this little girl with open arms. They just wanted her to feel love and joy and support, and everything that they gave to their daughter Skylar, they wanted to do for this little girl Sheila. Even though Sheila had her own parents, but it's like Sheila's parents wasn't giving the same type of love and home vibes as, you know, Skylar's mom and dad was. So every single day when Sheila would come over, she wouldn't knock, she wouldn't have to, because the Neece family loved her so much. Like, they treated her like she was their daughter as well. And Skylar loved Sheila like she was her sister. They're both the same age, and as they begin to grow older, they're going to the same schools together. They went to the same middle school together, and this is where they end up making their duo, you know, a trio. So they bring along, you know, another girl, and her name is Rachel. You know, she's another pretty little girl with red hair, bubbly, sparkly personality. She's in the drama club. She loves acting and dancing, and she's, you know, really staying in the child's place. And you know, she's fun. So Skylar and Sheila, they're like, you know, let's get her into our group. You know, let's be friends. So they begin to be friends with Rachel, and the older that they get, it's like, as time goes by, it's like one minute they're 8 years old, and they're 9, and they're 10, then you wake up one day and they're already 16. So at this time they're 16 years old. They're becoming young women, and they're finding their own, their hormones, and it's like in their mind they still haven't quite figured out life yet, so they're going through their changes and becoming, the women that they were meant to be. So they're not rebelling, because like I said, Skylar came from a really good home and really good parents. So Skylar's dad, he was like the tough hand of the family, He was super loving and caring and devoted to his family, but he also put his foot down when need be and let the girls know, you don't do things like this. This will get you into trouble, and, the penalty. And then Skylar's mom, she was more kind of like passive, like, oh, let them alone. They're just girls, it's the summer, so. And by now, Skylar, she decides, you know what, I want to make my own money. My mom and my dad, they've been just taking care of me ever since I was a little baby girl. It's time I want to show some type of independence and, get things on my own. So she gets hired into this job, at Wendy's. And she's making her own money. But in the meantime, in between time, that gives Sheila and Rachel, more time to be able to spend with themselves together besides with Skylar. So Skylar's noticing that Rachel and Skylar isn't really including her on any outings. Even when she's not working, they're posting pictures on Facebook and Twitter and recordings of them eating McDonald's and just everywhere. And Skylar starts to feel left out, like, wait a minute, like, we have sleepovers together. Y'all are always at my house. Like, why are y'all acting funny all of a sudden? So eventually, they link back up and they all meet for a sleepover over to Skylar's house, because like I said, the Neece's house there is just so comfortable, so why not go there? So these little girls, they feel comfortable there. They feel comfortable enough there to talk about some of everything, including death and how would you rather die, drowning or suffocation, and how they're not the same. Like, I'm not sure why little girls would be talking about things like that, but these are the things that they choose to talk about. So, but at the same time, Skylar's noticing that Rachel and Sheila isn't really paying too much attention to her. So she's already feeling kind of left out, because they already got their inside secrets and doing their little inside snickering, like, Skylar, you don't know what you're talking about, girl. Nobody's talking about you. And Skylar, she knows it. Like, she knows that they're having inside conversations about her and whatnot. So meanwhile, they all lay down, at the end of the night at this sleepover at Skylar's house. And then Skylar wakes up in the middle of the night and she notices her two friends kind of making out. So when they notice that she sees, they stop and they're instantly kind of afraid on the inside that she's going to say something. But she's like, no, guys, I'm your friend. I will never say anything, That's not what we do. What you do is what you do. So they left it alone. But as time go by, Skylar starts noticing that her friends are like kind of pushing away from her. And sources say, and there start being rumors around their high school that, Rachel and Sheila will get together and say things like, man, we got to try to find a way to be able to get rid of Skylar, and we think she might tell our deep, dark secret. And so what is so deep and so dark of a secret that you want her to get, be deceased or, whatever, what could be that serious? I'm sorry. It's just the fact that these little girls could be at this school talking about these things. Like, you're young, like, there's so many other things to do. And not just that, if Skylar did catch them in the act of making out, like I said in the beginning, they're still coming into their own. One thing I will not do, I will never bash someone else's sexual orientation or preference. What you do with your life is what you do with your life. Do whatever makes you happy. But if doing something behind closed doors makes you feel to the point where you have to keep it so secret, where someone finds out, where you're thinking in your mind, where I need to get rid of these people or someone, then that's when you know that it's way more serious than just a feeling in your heart or in your body. But moving forward, so Skylar, she's going to work, she's at home and she's noticing that she's texting her friends, but her friends are like nowhere to be found, but they're on Twitter to be found with each other, just not including her. So Skylar, she's in her feelings, which I would be too, because why all of a sudden y'all acting funny with me? Like, they could at least talk to her and let her know, listen, I know you saw what you saw, but please don't say nothing or something. Or maybe they did have that type of discussion. But whatever it was that kept Rachel and Sheila from, having Skylar hang out with them, it's messed up. Because at the end of the day, what's so crazy about it is Skylar and Sheila were friends first. And so, yeah. Rachel ends up going off with Sheila, and now they're best friends, and they're leaving Skylar out of the group. So now Skylar's taking her feelings out on, social media. She's putting it out there for the world to see, and she's using basically subliminal messaging and throwing shots at her friends to let them know, like, oh, I know your secret, and like, you better hope I don't say anything. And it's messed up that y'all hanging out with each other, but not hanging out with me. And just like, so I'm guessing that eventually Sheila and Rachel, they start to feel a little bit threatened by these texts, that she's putting on. And then not just that, every single day, because they say that Skylar was a social butterfly, so she will constantly be on Twitter, so she will always see the pictures that Rachel and Sheila will post. So yeah, she will feel, it will make her feel hurt inside. So yeah, throughout the time these girls were growing, they started picking on, started smoking weed and cigarettes and whatever it was, and they will go out, towards the woods, off the highway, and they will always have their meetup spot away from the adults, so the public eye wouldn't see them and judge them for, what it is that they should not be doing in the first place. But, just to get out of grown folks' face. So this is what these girls did. So, Rachel and Sheila, for months, they were already planning and plotting in their mind, like, we gotta try to find a way to get rid of Skylar, because what if she says something? If your parents find out, your parents are heavy into church, they'll probably kick you out. And they're just going back and forth to each other of the pros or the cons or the outcomes of maybe possibly Skylar telling their secret. So they end up coming up with killing her. So all throughout the months leading up, they're not hanging out with Skylar. They're just like making her really feel sad. In the meantime, in between time, the mom and dad, they're noticing that their baby girl is sad about something. And the mom, of course, she's going to play like she's not paying attention to her kids' social media. But, of course, we stalk our children, so we pay attention to their social media. So, yeah, so she's on, she's on her daughter's page. She's noticing that her daughter, is feeling really sad and blue. So she's trying to give her the Twilight books, to be able to read and make her feel happy again. But Skylar's just like, forget that. I don't want to read these same Twilight books I've been reading for years. I love Twilight, but that's just not my age anymore. I'm over it. I'm done with it. I want to go ride it with my friends. I want to do what teenage girls do with their friends. So nothing will make her feel good. So eventually, Skylar, she's really upset with her friends, but this does not stop this girl's study. She's still going to school, keeping them grades up, but she's still sad and depressed when she gets home. So before she goes to work at her job, Wendy's, she goes to work, and then Sheila, she texts her and like, hey girl, I'm sorry that we haven't linked up in a while. I want to hang out with you tonight. Can you get out? And Skylar's just like, no, I got to work and it's going to be late. And, my parents, they will never approve. And, Sheila's just like, well, just wait until they go to sleep. And then she was just like, she's the good girl out of the bunch. She's the one who wouldn't do anything like that. So, but, eventually Sheila and Rachel convinces her to hang out. So after she completes her shift at Wendy's, she goes home and she notices that her mom and her dad are just like laying out, chilling, you know, laying on the couch, watching a movie or something. But she kisses them on the forehead and she's just like, I'm tired, I'm just gonna go straight to bed. This probably had to be around 10:30 at night. So she goes to her room and then she prepares herself because she's like, I'm gonna wait till my mom and my dad go to sleep and then I'm gonna sneak out the window. So, and she does. So about 12:30, she opens up her window quietly so her mom and dad wouldn't hear. She has a stool underneath her window that was placed inside underneath her window, and she takes it and puts it on the opposite side of the window so she can be able to have something to stand on when she puts her little leg out of that window. So after that, you know, she gets her purse, she puts her leg out her window, step on the stool, pull that window down a little bit, and across the street, there's Sheila and Rachel waiting in the car, ready to take her off to go smoke and chill and talk about whatever it is. So they're on their way to their destination, and Skylar, she's just happy. She's just like, you know, I'm just happy to finally be with my friends, and I miss them so much. I've just been cooped up in the house and just going to school. I just really miss them. We don't even really have to talk about any of the things of the reasons why come we're mad at each other. I'm just happy to be with my homegirls. But in the meantime, in between time, Sheila and Rachel, their intentions and their thoughts, they're smiling at Sheila, and Sheila's smiling at Skylar, and Skylar's smiling at Rachel, but they're all looking and smiling at each other for all the, you know, wrong reasons. And Skylar, unfortunately, this baby girl did not know when she snuck out of her window. That was like the last and final time that she would see her parents. So they get out there to their original smoke spot, and yeah, they get out. They all close the door, and then with Skylar's not knowing that Sheila and Rachel got kitchen knives, like literally put inside of their hoodies, like, because they've been planning this for so long. So in their trunk they got shovels, they got cleaning products, they got gloves, and you know, just everything, whatever you can name to commit a murder. Like 16-year-old girls have these. So yeah, so they're on their way into the woods, into this deep dark area, the smoke spot. I'm sorry about the lighting. It's like, yeah, I think it's gonna go out maybe. But we're gonna get through this video. I'm gonna finish with this video. So, you know, they get out there to the woods and whatnot, and then so like Rachel, she's patting herself down. She's like, Sheila, I left the lighter, and then so they're like, please, Skylar, could you do us a favor and go and get the lighter? And Skylar's like, yeah. So she makes her way back to, you know, just not a care in the world. She knows she's just about to smoke with her friends. That's about it. She goes to the car and then bend down, get the lighter out, turn around, and before you know it, Sheila says, on 3. And they count down to 3. 1, 2, 3. And then within a blink of an eye, Skylar never saw it coming. They just went to jabbing her with these freaking kitchen knives. These little baby girls, just went to jabbing this other baby girl with these large kitchen knives. And in the meantime, in between times, Skylar's trying to run away. She's trying to fight and trying to, you know, take the weapons out of their hand. But they end up tackling her to the ground and stabbing her more and more. They slit her throat and everything. Sources say that they stabbed her over 50 times. Like, being stabbed once is enough. But for you to stab someone, and this is someone that you've been at their house, like her parents took you guys in and didn't have to. And this is how y'all do their baby. Sorry, y'all know how I get about these stories. But yeah, so they go to say that the last thing that Skylar says was, before, you know, her breath leaves her precious little body, is why? Like, why? Like, she's literally asking her friends, why did y'all do this? Out of all things, like, if y'all didn't want to hang out with me, that's all y'all have to say. Like, But y'all went as far as killing me. That's why I'm beginning to think that maybe the real reason why they killed her is because they didn't want her to tell of what she saw. Because what other reason would they have? Because like other than besides that, why not just tell her that they don't want to hang out with her anymore? Why go through the dramatics of risking their freedom and killing their friend? So yeah. So after that, they go get the shovels out of the trunk of the car because now they're getting ready to try to bury this baby after they killed her. Now, they don't call the ambulance, they don't call the police, don't tell anybody what they did. They'll get the shovels out the car, proceed with their plan. They begin to dig a hole, but they're noticing that in their spot, the ground is too hard for them to get through. So they're like, you know what, we're just going to drag her over here by this like little creek. They drag her body, her precious little body. Now all the life of her is gone. She's been stabbed over 50 times and they slit her throat. So after they pull her to this creek, they cover her with a couple of, bushes like that they pulled and cut off the bushes and some leaves and a few pieces of dirt and some rocks, and they just leave her there in the woods and drive off. Go back home together like a slumber party, wash up and get back into bed like nothing's happened. So in the meantime, it's morning now. The dad, Skylar's dad, he gets up, morning, Why is Skylar's door still closed in the morning? Normally Skylar is, she's the early bird who gets the worm, So he already thought that was suspicious, but he's like, I'm just going to wake her up. He goes in there and tries to wake her up, and he notices that his baby girl isn't even in the bed. But he goes over and he noticed that the window's kind of cracked. So he's not. So he goes and he calls to his wife. And he says, do you know where Skylar is? And she's like, oh, it's okay. She's probably off with Sheila or Rachel. It's the summertime. These girls are out probably at a beach or something. And he's like, yeah, but no, that's not like Skylar, and I don't play that. If she's going to leave or say anything, she needs to let us know, first and foremost, which is, I love this dad. This daddies wear capes, especially dads like him. He was on it about his daughter. I'm not saying that the mom didn't care, but she was more passive. And this dad, he did not miss a beat with his girls. He didn't miss a beat with Sheila and Rachel. And this whole time, he didn't even know that these little girls who he took in as his own then just murdered his baby in the woods. He's looking for her. And the mom thinks she's at the beach or out with her friends, and she was, but not anymore. They left her dead, lifeless, in the woods. So they call Sheila and they call Rachel. And they're like, hey, have you seen Skylar? And it's like, no, we haven't seen Skylar. I'm sorry, but, we'll call around. We'll see if we can come up with her. So they're like, okay. So then the mom is like, let's just wait. She has a shift coming up in a few hours. And if she doesn't show up for her shift, then we'll panic and everything. And she's just like, I'm just sure it's nothing. And then but the dad is like, but Skylar and, not Skylar, I'm sorry, but Rachel and Sheila hasn't seen her, so whatever. So it's got to be more to the story. The dad, he's just not letting it go, which I don't blame him. This is his daughter, and this is out of the ordinary for her to not let him know if she was going to be leaving the house or not. So, some time go by, and then Sheila decides to call back and was like, I'm sorry. I really want to apologize. I lied to you before because I didn't want Skylar to get in trouble. But last night about 11 o'clock, 11:30, me and Rachel, we ended up picking Skylar up. And we went through the ride around, and she had us pick her up across, kind of up the street because she didn't want to wake you and she didn't want to get into trouble, and she just really wanted to hang out. She knew that you wouldn't let her come. So the dad is just like, he's still upset because he's just like, well, okay, she left, but where is she now? And they're like, well, we dropped her back off at home around 11:45. So now the dad is really panicking. He's like, so he's not, so at first she was with y'all, but now she's not. So y'all dropped her back off, so now where is she? She doesn't hang out with anyone else besides you girls. So, yeah. the dad, he's like rocking back and forth, and which I don't blame him. He's upset. And the mom she's kind of like, okay, it's almost time for her shift. It'll be time for her shift soon. So, time for her shift. Wendy's call. Is Skylar coming in today? The dad hearts drop because he's just like, oh no, my daughter really got kidnapped. Something happened. So the mom's like, okay, we have these surveillance cameras on the porch. Let's just check those. So they're checking the surveillance camera, and they noticed that kind of like the camera wasn't, the quality wasn't really good, so they couldn't really get the make and model of the car. They can just really tell if it was like white or maybe like a light gray or something. But they did not know that the whole time this was Sheila's car at 12:30. So way later than what she said that they came, because originally she said that she came and picked Skylar up around 11:15, 11:30, somewhere up in that time, or dropped her off around that time. So either way it went, times didn't add up. So now they go and they review the camera. Now they're calling the police because she's not at home, she's not with Sheila and Rachel, and she's not at work. They get the police involved, and then all hell breaks loose. So now Sheila, she's coming over every single day, helping Skylar's parents look for